Hi, it's 4 o'clock, and we'll just do a brief intro. My name is Dr. Mello Desire. I see we have one of our submits. We're waiting for Joseph Akinola, who is our Chief Operating Instructor for bringing all these countries together concerning human rights. We are the Kingdom Warriors Foundation 1% campaign. So we're here in Los Angeles. Hi. Welcome. Hello. Can you hear me?
I can. Good morning.
Welcome. So you're Akintoye? Did I say it correct?
I'm JOLAOSOOLUKEMI.
Olukemi. Yes, and you are a teen. You work with teenagers, right? I'm so glad to see you. Currently, you are in which country are you calling from?
I'm calling from Nigeria.
Nigeria. Okay. Welcome. Thank you. And Akintoye Kehinde, which country are you calling from?
I'm also calling from Nigeria.
Oh, great. Okay, Nigeria's in the house. That's what's up. So thank you for being on the call. Joseph Akinola is one of our premier partners, and we're working on a very, very huge project globally, especially for our youth in human rights. Admit. Okay, we have two coming. So just briefly, and my name is Dr. Mello Desire. I'm actually calling from Los Angeles, and I am a human rights activist as well as an advocate. I am a doctor as well. Mental health is what we focus on here, and there's a lot of issues going on for our young people globally. And so we want to come together to bring and form a foundation. Under the Kingdom Warriors Foundation, we started in 2013, and we focused on homeless youth, foster care. And then 7 years later, we really worked on civil rights for incarceration, police brutality. There are a lot of unique issues that are here in the United States that are plaguing especially our urban youth. But a problem worldwide is children and advocacy for children. So there is a movement called Save the Children, and it focuses on Hollywood primarily, with the children being abused. Sexual trafficking, human trafficking is a big issue as well. So now in the last 60 days, we have an explosion of exposure of all these elite people that's in governance, that's in entertainment field, are being ousted due to child involvement. So there's a lot of things that we will discuss that are quite sensitive, but the purpose of us coming together is to come up with a solution to save our children. And it starts with governance. It starts with the Constitution. So briefly, if you can, you work with teens primarily. So we can start with Ayo, if you're ready to introduce yourself. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Yes, I'm JOLAOSOOLUKEMI. My vision and mission towards teenagers is actually to groom their minds.
Okay.
To groom them in such a way that they later come, the body and soul can synchronize and also get in, when their minds are properly inclined, they are able to do the right things and become useful for themselves and the society. And I'm totally sold out to that. Then I also love to collaborate. There will never be an adult that will go the wrong way or not even understand what they are doing. The major thing I love doing is helping to raise them in such a way that they are conscious of who they are, God, and how they live their lives. Who they
Okay.
are, God lives generally. So that is the major vision. And the way in which I reach out to them is through write-up, teachings, meetings, conferences. So that is the major thing I do.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing your important mission. And briefly, we want to know a little bit about the government structure in Nigeria. What does human rights and civil rights look there under the leadership of Buhari? So we can go into that later on. Now, our next introduction, I believe, Mr. Joseph Akinola. I appreciate you coming and bringing all this together. All right, so if you'd like, for our next introduction, will be from Nigeria as well. And we will go to Akintoye. Can you hear us?
Yes, ma.
Okay, can you briefly introduce yourself? And what is it that you do? What do you focus on with the young people?
Okay, I'm Akintoye Kehinde from Smiling Child Relevant Child Foundation. And basically what we do can be grouped into two. The first part is we give smile to children who cannot afford one by natural privileges. We believe that there are some children that by natural privileges, they didn't choose to be in that kind of situation. They just found themselves in a kind of situation that they are probably deprived of financial privileges, or some children are emotionally, psychologically, some are deprived of social privileges, education, good health, and other things like that. So that's the first part of what we do. We reach out to those children by organizing outreaches, health outreach, things that can help them to fit into that particular, that can cover up for that privilege that they have been deprived of. Children that have been raped, that have been abused, they have emotional deprivation. So we try to reach out to them by showing them love, counseling, and other things. Then the second part of what we do is that we equip children for relevance. That's the relevant part of the foundation. And that part is more of discipline, educating, equipping children with knowledge and also character. We believe that to gain relevance, a child needs knowledge and also character. There are some children that by natural privilege, they have good opportunity to this, while some other children don't, because some parents themselves don't even realize this, and there's always a need for someone to bridge that gap. So the foundation is rising to bridge that gap, or that space that is lacking behind in giving children what they need to be equipped for relevance. So that's basically what we do in Smiling Child Relevant Child Foundation. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Can you repeat the name of it as well? Is everyone familiar with the chat? If you can just type in your organization's name, so that way, and your name as well. If you're not able to, let me know. But we want everyone who have spoken, so we can know where to find you and what you're doing in other countries, so we can come together easily. Now we can go to Mr. Akinola, the project that we're working on currently with our youth and how we can make human rights a law.
Yeah, greetings to everyone. I'm Joseph Akinola. I'm Joseph Akinola. I'm a media consultant, humanitarian, and an ICT professional. Been doing this for some time now, and where my passion lies is in affecting teenagers and youths. Been doing this over 10 years. You coach them, lead them, you try to mentor them in the way they should go, so that when they get to the next level, next phase of their life in the future, they look back and they say, wow, thank God for meeting this person. That's what I've been doing all this while. As regards affecting teenagers and youths, most of the time, we don't meet them. We meet them on the street, meet them anywhere. And each time we come across them, we try as much as possible to encourage them, to advise them, to let them know that people had gone through what they are going through, and they too, they can still come out best and better than who they are. And that's how we've been doing. And lately I became a full service humanitarian. I started working with different NGOs locally in Lagos, Nigeria here. Then later extended to different places out of Lagos in Nigeria, and now work with different NGOs in Africa and outside the shores of Africa.
Awesome.
The Kingdom Warrior Foundation.
That's right. The Kingdom Warriors Foundation primarily is a global youth entity, but we are not global yet. So this is why our first Zoom meeting, we want to come with serious leaders who are about changing their community immediately. We are very serious about civil rights, changing legislation. A lot of times the democracy of our countries are not really a democracy. It's a few group of people that turn into a bureaucracy, and they elect how money is being spent, how education is being ran, and it really doesn't give freedom to the people who are hardworking and really want pursuit of happiness and to raise their children in peace and prosperity. So compromise right now, as we have mentioned, right, we are in a war. We are in a very big spiritual battle. And right now it's coming more to a head. If you're not familiar what's happening with somebody's coming. If you're not familiar what's happening with Israel right now, as far as nationwide, bodies of believers are being targeted. And we come from all walks of life, but overall, we stand for truth and justice. And we must, at this time, more than ever, in the next 60 days, put together a clear foundation, a clear autonomy, army of intellectuals that will empower the young people around them and equip them with the knowledge of changing laws. The first thing I would like for everyone to do as we go down with introductions, Mr. Bill Ishaku, thank you for joining us. And right after,
it's a privilege to be here.
Yes, and we will briefly hear from you, your introduction in a few minutes. So currently here, what we're doing is trying to put together a conference where we will address human rights as a whole. And we want our young people to be the leaders in this dialogue. So currently my background, I'm from Haitian descent, but I'm American born. My father is Italian, so I come from a very diverse background. But my ancestors are born and bred in America for generations. My grandfather's name is Jean-Baptiste Pointe-du-Sable. He was actually the first Haitian Negro to build a house in Chicago. And that's where we had our first city built in the 1790s. Now, Chicago is one of the most dangerous cities with gun violence. And so we want to address the origins of how we can make the changes. Hi, Mr. Abraham. Greetings.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. We're just going briefly into introductions, but thank you for taking the time on this meeting. We are primarily going to be discussing how we can implement human rights to go forth in the next step of bringing a world order. And that includes saving the children, exposing DCFS, really naming names. And so this is not an easy meeting to come by, and it's not really for everyone. But we are a group of people coming together to expose what needs to be done once and for all. Now, 2020 has given a different voice to us, where we have COVID and racial injustice that has really put the world on silent, on reset. And so a lot of things that are now coming to the surface with global leaders is now something that has never been done before 2020. So currently, with different aspects of human rights violations worldwide, we want to address the countries that are ready to move forth and recruit members worldwide that are about and changing laws. So the knowledge that we require for you to have to the table is a knowledge of your community. We need to have a knowledge of your structure of government in America, as well as many countries. If you could put your phone on mute. In America, the structure of the government is president, vice president, secretary, and there are 17 other ministers or officers of defense, economics, that we have gone through our last meeting. And we will actually leave you a link for our last meeting concerning the officers, details of their positions worldwide. Now, the government that we have currently, we're not trying to replace it. We're just trying to empower our young people from all walks of life for them to create their own government. We have to be relevant for the future. And currently we are in a digital age. So we have to match the freedom fighters, so to speak, worldwide with the basic tools of electricity, of basic water and equipment for them to actually make that happen. Now, currently, President Trump is the president of the United States. That's a given. In Nigeria, we have Muhammadu Buhari, which is the president there. Now, what other country is on the call conference with us as well? Do we have a representative from Kenya?
He's not here now.
Okay.
He's not here now. Uganda too is not here now.
Oh, okay. All right. And then also, Bill, Ishaku, we're going to go with your introduction. And then Mr. Abraham, if you don't mind, would like for you to introduce yourself as well.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for having me here. How are you doing, ma'am?
Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
You're doing a good work, and I'm glad to be on the team. It's a privilege, actually, to join the move and a cause that will create a major shift for the younger generation. And I'm excited to be part of this. Okay, my name is Bill Ishaku, and I'm the CEO of Bill Ishaku Consulting. We started a few years ago, and we do professional trainings for business owners. The vision basically is to empower individuals and businesses, for continuous relevance and profiting in the long run. And I'm also the CEO of the Ishaku Foundation, a foundation that is born out of my passion to influence the younger generation, which is coming from my background experience. Having grown up in an army barracks, a military barracks, and being exposed to all kinds of abuse, from pornography to drinking, to smoking, all kinds of bad habits. And I was able to survive that through the help of God when I eventually became a believer, and all those habits and cycles were broken. And at some point I felt there's a need for me to influence young people, especially those who are, who have some form of addictions like I had growing up, which almost tampered with my life through wrong conditioning. And, I eventually started mentoring young people while I was still young. When I broke that cycle, I started teaching young people. And because the barracks is a place where if you have, experienced or have come across people who grew up in the barracks, you see there's this thing about their mindset. In fact, at some point I felt life ended in the barracks. And even up to now, as an adult, I see a lot of young people who we grew up together in the army barracks, who obviously looks like they are going nowhere in life. That's because of the kind of conditioning that the military barracks, similar to what happens in the ghettos and in the backside of life, the kind of conditioning that it gives young people. So the Bill Ishaku Consulting is actually focusing on the young youths in the barracks and in the ghettos, particularly. And the basic initiative is to create a paradigm shift through strategic content development and deployment. And we're doing that by creating deliberate content. One of the things we'll start doing very soon is to start creating dramas, like one we had when we were growing up. It was called Samanja. I don't think that's a name you know, but it's a name given to a military figure in the barracks whose responsibility is to curb crime in the barrack and in the ghetto. And it does that by, going around. It was actually a drama, or it was actually portraying what was happening in the military barracks. A lot happens in the barracks. A lot happens in the ghettos. So that's basically the initiative for the Ishaku Foundation. And also we're empowering young people. Like I've been involved as a volunteer working for a couple of foundations, like Stephen Akintoye Foundation. Stephen Akintoye is the CEO of GTEX Homes here in Nigeria, and he's doing quite a lot. Right now, he's sponsoring over 1,000 young students in school. I'm on the team of that foundation and a couple of other foundations. So right now we're doing a lot, trying to influence the younger generation for a major paradigm shift that will shape on the future and give us a better world. Thank you.
Great, great. So we currently have 3 awesome organizations from Nigeria that will help spearhead the rest of the African nations to come together, and eventually worldwide. We want to have young people representatives, but new ambassadors of a peace foundation that we're starting. And this is organic. It's not something that is set in stone. It's not something that's done before. So everything that we're coming together is pretty much new. So briefly, before we go to one of our guests, Joshua Abraham, I'd like to introduce our Chief Operating Officer, Ms. Amber Brandt, who also, you mentioned, Mr. Ishaku, about the military and the barracks and theater. Those are 2 major areas that we're actually using for rehabilitation, is theater, is drama, is little skits, speaking about human atrocities. The best way that people can receive a message is through video, through arts and entertainment. And so we are going to briefly talk about that on our next Zoom call. So without further ado, Ms. Amber Brandt.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, I'm Amber Brandt, and I am the COO of the Kingdom Warriors Foundation. It's great to be here, and I heard your story, most of it, and it's just really inspiring. So we're looking to do the same in the US, just reformat, actually not reformat, but just read through the whole Constitution. And it's exhilarating to see how fast it's catching on in Africa. It's beautiful, and I look forward to it happening here. I think that people are more connected on the same page in Africa right now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Ready worldwide.
Yeah.
So this time is coming.
Definitely.
So also Amber has a little military experience as well.
I do. Yes, I was in the Army, and I was strongly encouraged, I almost recruited by Air Force, because no one here goes in the Army. I mean, they do, but it's kind of a military joke.
Not voluntary.
The Army's like the last one. And but I told myself if I was going to, I'd be in Int'l, and I was. I was supposed to have done A1 Lima, which is lithography, where you learn the training of the surface that you're going to infiltrate at that time. You learn the high tech, machinery, things like that. So, it was a great experience while it lasted.
Yeah. And right now, the military worldwide is compromised. When you think about how we even have wars or wages of war, there's money into supplies, which is why certain groups want to keep countries at war with each other. And along with unnecessary wars, we have atrocities against humanity. And so this has been plaguing humankind at least for 400 years. And now people are tired to the point where there is no other solution but either death or liberty. And so now we've come to a modern day head of not only a spiritual battle, but a legislative battle. And so what we want to do expeditiously is to change laws, That is our purpose. Something called the Article 5 Convention. And I'm going to write that in the chat. Article 5 Convention is a U.S. term that actually in the Constitution, section Article 5 states that there's only two ways that we as Americans can change the Constitution. The first way, it states that you can write a bill or draw up a bill, give it to your local legislative, which is your Congress or your assembly person or senator, and have that bill turn with state support to actually change that into a law. However, that can take, depending on what law it is, it can be from a week to years or never happen. And sometimes a lot of laws are sitting inactive that are really there for the people. So that's part of the corruption that we've been talking about with this bureaucracy that's been entailed since 1787. When it comes to pinpointing exactly the spiritual battle we're in. And that has never been done before so overtly, especially by a president, that spiritual matters have never really been exposed to be as the problem. And so we want to capitalize on this very moment that is very, very unique. And before November 3rd, our main target dates, October 24th, 25th, and 26th. In Hollywood and Highland, we want to have a global celebration of bringing in new resources, and that will cover child issues, sex trafficking, human rights deprivation worldwide. We want to cover every single country that especially had human rights atrocities to have a global ceremony right in the heart of Hollywood. That's the best place to do it. You have millions of people worldwide that comes to this little city to try to make it. And so we want to symbolically utilize that area. And that's where Joseph and I and a couple of other leaders will work on having the means to have an international broadcast. And we want to have as much media there to really highlight these 3 days. So it's the next month. It's really a lot of planning to do, but we can pull it off because all of the elements are there. So we're looking for volunteers, especially in Hollywood and Highland, with production equipment, banners and signs, t-shirts, a lot of materials to be made to really put the names of the oppressors with their faces on it to send a clear message. And we cannot be afraid to move forward at this point. A lot of the oppression is behind the scenes. It's called in the shadows. And these shadow men are the same job. They are few, but they control the masses. So what we want to do is expose these elites so we can actually have a voice for the people. Right into Joshua, can you introduce yourself and tell us a brief of your purpose, your mission? Thanks.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, speak up.
Okay, hi, thanks for bringing me in. My name is Joshua Abraham. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Joshua Abraham, and
Yes, I hear you good.
okay. My dad was the first to expose the Illuminati in 1971 with his international best-selling book, and basically, my purpose is to give you guys a perspective of everything that's going on in the shadows and those people who work behind the shadows. For the past 10 years, I've been totally dedicated to the research and the study of the occult, and I successfully infiltrated the Freemasons all the way up to Master Mason, and was shown the 4 holy books of the 33rd degree of the Scottish Rite, which is the Sovereign Grand Inspector General degree. And some Masons would say I'm a Master Mason, some would say I'm a 32nd, but the people who invited me to the Coven of the Golden Dawn, which is the private coven of the satanic witchcraft circle of the Rothschild family, they considered me a 33rd degree, and that's why I got the invite. So basically, I want to be able to say that my contribution to this whole piece of the puzzle is basically the shadow. I've been studying the shadow government. I've been studying every aspect of the spiritual warfare you guys are talking about. And after going on Alex Jones on InfoWars and I've done 3 interviews on Coast to Coast with George Norrie, and that was over 6 different continents. And I've done a bunch of national and regional and other stuff like that, but those are pretty much my big main shows. And basically what I want to give my piece to I don't know anything about policy or making laws, or I didn't even go to college. I was a professional extreme sports athlete until I was 25. But ever since I quit my extreme sports career, I've been following my dad's footsteps and kind of taking it up a notch, and fully infiltrated successfully the Freemason Lodge. And on Hollywood and Highland, across the street, there is Jimmy Kimmel's studio, which is a Freemason lodge. And basically, the thing is, what I can deliver is, like, you know, we have to understand that these people who are doing all this crap, this whole AKA Illuminati, New World Order stuff, these are all black magic wizards. And I've been studying the rituals and the arts of black magic for very many years. And I just want to be able to give you guys a perspective on what I know about the black magic and the occult, and all the spell books that I've read, and the intense study of the Bible that I've done. And I've definitely read probably close to 200 books into the study of the occult for the past 10 years. So what I basically want everyone right off the bat to know is that what we're going up against is literally the armies of Lucifer. Like, we say, save the children. We say all lives matter. We say end the Fed. But basically, like, my point of the aspect of research and what I can deliver is that my knowledge of the nucleus and how these Luciferian satanic cults operate and how they do things, who, like, knows the occult. So basically, like, I'm just the Freemason of the group. So
yeah, I appreciate it. And that knowledge, that type of knowledge, is very important to know, because that is what's really running behind the scenes. So
exactly.
Yeah, so we really don't have people like Joshua available. So we thank you very much for offering your time, and definitely this is the right circle. Just briefly, if you don't want to go into it now, we will have a section, next meeting, concerning the in-depth look of the Scottish Rite and what exactly is Freemasonry, so people who are not aware of this world in its entirety can be up to speed. And the 4 holy books, I'm definitely more interested to know more about that.
Absolutely.
Next week. So thanks
I have
again
a
for coming.
question.
Yes.
Joshua, just, you know, hearsay, if you will. For example, is there a code that the elite, that the Illuminati abides by speaking out publicly what their sinister acts are going to be? And then no one really believes it, but they literally will tell you because it's kind of a code they go by. Is that accurate?
Yeah, what you need to understand about Satanism and the occult is that there's very strict rules, and the most important rule is putting their plan of operation in the open for everyone to see. You have to understand, like, they put everything in the open, like whether it be in a movie, whether it be on the back of the dollar bill, if you fold it accordingly, like, they put it in like, give you an example, they had the plan for all 3 world wars on display at the British Museum in I believe it was late 1900s in the British Museum of London of the Smithsonian, how the Freemasons, how Albert Pike and Giuseppe Manzini, the founder of the KKK and the Italian Mafia, came up with the Freemasonic plan of the 3 world wars, and the first 2 were executed perfectly. Mm-hmm. And another example is that little symbol on the back of your $1 bill, Anno et Coeptis Novus Ordo Seclorum. That in Latin means now announcing the arrival of our new order of the ages, which is a new world order. So right. they have to put everything out in the open, and that's why right. We have to understand that before we like go after like legislation, which is really cool that we're gonna do that. We have to understand that like this is a world ran by black magicians that, and if you think of the ways of a magician, it's all like a show, you know, and sleight of hand and deception, like look over here when you're supposed to be looking over there.
Yeah.
They run our society like a magic show. So if you understand like how black magicians work, and you read these spell books, you understand how these people operate. And so basically, they have to put everything in the open. And when you can decipher their symbols and know, when you read these spell books and you decipher this old, whether it be Celtic or Druidic or Egyptian or Babylonian, when you know the different types of magic and you can see those symbols and know what they mean, they put it out in the open because they have to. And if we catch on to that, that's their bad, because they know two things: that they have to put their plan in the open for everyone to see, or they won't be allowed to operate.
No one's looking for it. When you have all these secrets out in the open, it's amazing. This is why we want to have people to open up their eyes and really take a look and watch the symbols that are hidden in your buildings, in your structure. And this is global. It's not just the United States. Freemasonry is a global group. So understand that. Yes, it's all about symbols. And so I want you to really study the basics of what Freemasonry is, and look at the basic symbols in Coca-Cola or your mainstream companies in commercials. They actually have Masonic symbols that they manipulate as their logo. And all this time you're drinking a soda, or you're watching the news, not realizing that their actual logo is an eye or something, or some type of symbol. But really be vigilant, I guess, is the point that I'm making, because it's, as Abraham said, it's right in front of you, these symbols.
Because you can see it every single day and everything. It's just like, when you turn on Gmail, that's the symbol of the Masonic apron. And when you go on Facebook, that's the symbol of the Master Mason car medallion that we put on the back of our cars so police don't pull us over. It's just funny. Global deception, this is all magic. And how they set everybody up to not know all this is through television and media and music. And that is based out of Hollywood in Los Angeles. So it's very important that if we want to make a stand and globally dispel the global illusion, you got to go, just like a vampire or any kind of black magic, you got to go to the source to where it is. And the source of where it is Hollywood and Highland, when they've actually made a shrine to adrenochrome in front of the Freemason Lodge with Aleister Crowley's stars on the boulevard. They actually made the whole block into an architectural spell book. And they did that for a very good reason, because that is where they've received the awards of the deception. So if we make our stand there and get as many eyes there and as people there as possible, we have not only the Masonic knowledge, which is the most important thing to dispel people out of this magic spell, but we'll actually have the truth, and everyone else on our side, whether that be lawyers and like people in the military. But people need to understand that Masonry literally is the cornerstone to all this deception. That's why the cornerstone is the most important ritual in Masonry. When they build the White House or the Washington Monument, the cornerstone is the most prevalent ritual. And if you take down Masonry and expose that, and expose the Masonic and the game of deception behind these people, and if you expose that cornerstone, the rest of the structure will be exposed.
That's right.
So I just want to bring that piece of the puzzle to add.
The topic of human rights. This is also an awesome platform if you know anyone that is very serious about changing their environment and they're ready. We're not talking about people who want to think about it. We need good soldiers, meeting of the mind. So we're looking for realtors. We're looking for property ownership so we can build housing. We need office spaces, especially in Los Angeles County. There's a lot of empty real estate. So those are the things that we need to set up shop here. That way we can also set up shop globally. So we are going to just briefly in the next, we're going to wrap up in about 25 minutes, around 5:05, 5:06 we'll wrap up. I want to go into our African countries that we currently want to put together. The 10 top African countries, just briefly, I would like for you to connect with these countries that are one of the highest GPD in Africa, and we need to know why just these 10 to 15 countries are so economically wealthy while we have others that are still without. So I would like for you to research their president, their leadership, how they are becoming highest in African nations as far as products, services, and human rights also is pretty strong in these countries. So we have Eswatini. If I mess it up, let me know. Mr. Akinola, let me know if I mispronounce any of these countries, okay? So Eswatini is on top of the number 10 list for one of the wealthiest countries in Africa. Number 2 is Algeria. Number 3 is Namibia. Number 4 is South Africa. Number 5 is Libya. Number 6 is Botswana. Number 7 is Gabon. Number 8 is the Equatorial Guinea, which is actually a small island that Spanish, believe it or not, is the official language. So it's very, very wealthy in products, farming and fishing particularly. Number 9 is Mauritius. Number 10 is Seychelles. Now the last 3 that I mentioned, Equatorial Guinea, Mauritius, and Seychelles, are actually islands outside of the whole continent, but still part of Africa. So we want to know how their environment, their economic structure is built so we can actually expand that. And this is what the first assignment we want for your young people to document. Now, each of you that as we come along, we currently have, I have about 7 bios of leadership that Mr. Akinola has graciously sent. And thank you for that. These are game changers, as we mentioned, as we heard from some of them earlier, that they are leaders in their own right with organizations in their current communities that are focusing on youth, consciousness, health, economics. I would like for you, each organization, to bring together at least 24 young people in your areas that we are going to have a national Zoom meeting with. These leaders, these young people have to be the age of 13 to about 28, 29. They have to have some business aspects. They have to have knowledge of their current governance. So they have a lot of researching to do. September 25th is the target date, in about a week or so, that we will have our first official Zoom meeting, introducing some of these young people that you have chosen. And so this will be a weekly or a bi-weekly forum, and where we will have other countries coming in, and we will grow bigger and bigger, but primarily that platform is for the young people. So the knowledge that Mr. Abraham or Mr. Joseph Akinola and any other guest speaker has that has a prominent position, we would like for them to share their knowledge on these platforms and allow the young people to come up with solutions for their individual communities. We want to focus on rehabilitation through the arts. So theater, I believe Mr. Bill Ishaku mentioned.
Someone is on the waiting room. Winnie is in the waiting room.
Oh, I see. Winnie, okay. Thank you. It's Winnie Blessing. So Mr. Bill mentioned theater as one of the resources they use for communications. Okay, somebody, if you can raise your hand as well, Ms. Akinola. If you have a question, we'll be taking questions in the next 2 minutes. So these 10 countries that I mentioned are the richest of African nations. So I would like for you to find out how they have become that way. Now, on the opposite spectrum, I will be naming 10 of, I wouldn't say the poorest countries, but these are 10 of the least productive countries in the nation of, in the African continent. In these areas, and we need to gather the young people in these areas as well and empower them. So the 10 countries that need economic reviving is number one, the country of Niger. Niger is rich in uranium, but it is definitely needed in some aspects. Number two, Sierra Leone. They were very rich in diamonds and mining. And so they have been in, since 1991 to 2002, in a very major civil war concerning their resources. So now that has left that country very depraved. Number three is the Democratic Republic of Congo. It is in Central Africa, and it has been pretty much forgotten when it comes to trading and economic boosting from other nations. Number four is Mozambique. Number five is Gambia. Gambia is currently pulling itself from the bootstraps, but I believe we do have a representative from Gambia. Number six is Madagascar. Number seven is Central African Republic. Number nine is Malawi. And number 10 is South Sudan. So the 20 countries that I just mentioned, I want you to thoroughly research that. And in between, the countries that are ready to develop their youth council, that is what we're going to develop September 25th in exactly 2 weeks, 14 days from now. All right, so we had a hand that was raised and someone that just came in the room. Can you briefly introduce yourself, Miss Winnie Blessing?
Oh, hello. Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
No, thank you. Yeah, I'm Winnie. I'm based in Uganda.
Uganda, awesome. Uganda's in the house.
Okay. Yay. I'm based in Uganda, yeah. Actually, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a philanthropist. I usually work with young women. I'm working with young women in my organization, mostly teenage mothers. We have a lot of cases of teenage mothers. They drop out of school, work, and everything. So we have a lot of teenage mothers in our country. They are helpless. They don't know the direction to take in life. So I'm currently working on them, with them. We are also working with women who have been victims of domestic violence.
Yes, so domestic violence. Thank you for that.
Yes,
that's a big issue
yes.
Too.
It's really a big issue here. It is too much. So we are trying to restore their hope, to help them discover their worth, because most of them have really lost hope in life. So we are also working with young women, young single mothers with more than 2 children. There are very many also who are single mothers. Their husbands left them, they are there, they are not employed. So we are also working with them. We normally advocate for their rights, help them know their rights, and also help them discover their purpose and empower them economically. So basically, that's what I work on my organization. And also other projects on youth, to empower the youth, teach them their reproductive rights and other rights they're supposed to know, to help them grow, knowing what they're supposed to do and how to see the world, to realize their full potential in everything they do.
Awesome.
That's what I'm doing currently.
What's your organization's name again? Can you repeat that?
It's called Blessed Hands Women Development Association.
Okay, and it's located in Uganda. Which city in Uganda?
We are in Chira. The city is called Chira. It's actually like 2 kilometers, like it's near Kampala, the main city. We are just outside, shortly out Kampala city. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what resources currently that they have concerning human rights in Uganda? How bad or how I would say how good is it there as far as implementing protection
policy.
constitution laws?
Our policies are not that effective. Yeah, we are really trying our best as organizations to enlighten most women, most young girls or youth. They really don't know their rights. It's not effective in our country. So we are trying our best also to make them aware, because we have few different organizations that advocate for them. There are few.
Okay.
Really, it's really a big issue here. It's really a big issue. There is no main organization that's really advocating for them. Most of our organizations are international organizations, and they really care more food, taking care of people empowering, but advocating for rights, we are really not so much or need so much. So that's why we are also trying our best to see that it really comes up and people get to know their rights and to be empowered and everything.
Okay, thank you for that insight. So we would like for you to focus on the women as you have, empowering them as well, the young girls. And just briefly, speaking of young girls, they're being threatened physically in every aspect. They are literally considered second-class citizens in some countries. So we have a long way to go. Currently, Netflix, September 9th, they released a movie called Cuties. It was also called Les Mignons. I believe it was Sundance Film Festival. It won an award. And this is a movie about 11-year-old girls literally in sexual compromising positions. And Netflix had the audacity, and I hope everybody know who Netflix is, the movie company. Okay? And Netflix had the audacity to purchase the rights to this film to debut it here in the United States. And so there was a brief protest about it, but it wasn't as effective because they're going to do what they're going to do. And that's the power that we have to realize that the elite has, which is why we have to go through the back door or different means in order to crumble that entity. So I am actually going to do an in-depth podcast breaking down the movie itself, and we're going to call for a national action effort, which has happened already. Netflix stocks has dropped at least 8% since this morning. So a lot of people have canceled their account since this movie came out, but we still need to do more, because movies like this is a deliberate showing of how our kids are being exploited, and yet this is the same film that is an NC-17 rating. That means it's for mature audiences only. So why would you cast 11-year-olds in such a awful movie? So after today, we would like for all of the ideas that you may have of what you would like to bring to the table. But currently, we want you just to think about the 24 young people in your current area that would be good candidates in leadership. So currently we have about, I believe 30, Mr. Akinola sent, but we want to make sure all the young people are aware of this opportunity so they can practice and get their leadership skills in tow. Because once we start executing civil rights, we are going to have a list of demands of our local leadership. So that means you have to have a relationship with your current president in the fact that you are aware of what your governance in your country is doing. You have to know the structure, the name of the people that are running the finances in your country. So those are the basic knowledge requests that we ask for you to do in the next week. And when we come again next Friday, same time, same location and Zoom ID, that we will have an update of what you have researched. And so everyone will have about 5 to 6 minutes, as you've had today, to explain to the, I'm sorry, I have a brain fart. Explain to the audience exactly what you have researched. So the first thing I'm going to write in the chat is please know your local governance. That means if you're from Nigeria, you should have similar answers as far as who is your president, vice president, who represent the young people, who is the responsible for economics, who's responsible for education, stuff like that, a breakdown. And if you like to email me your findings so that way we can list them for our next meeting, please do so. My email is mello@onepercentage.org, or you can email Amber Brandt at protonmail.com as well. So we have any further questions, comments? We'll leave the floor for the next 3 minutes for any comments or questions. I saw a hand that was raised earlier, and I do not see any more. I see Olukemi. If you don't have any questions, then we could just start to wrap up with our.
I think someone is still there that is yet to introduce herself.
Oh, okay. Can you introduce yourself? I don't know, I missed you.
Okay, good day, everyone. Can you hear me, please?
Yeah.
We can hear you clearly.
Okay. It's nice to be amongst you today, and I've been listening to all that you have been saying. I am Franca ORAKWUE, aka Lady Franca, and
right.
I am an educator and speech instructor, and a co-founder and national coordinator of an NGO, Positive Values Initiative International. We are concerned with the grooming of individuals, especially children and youth, promoting positive values amongst children and youth. We are driven by the fact that research has shown that people's values influence their thinking, and people's thinking patterns influences their behavior, conduct, relationships, and even choices. So we are concerned with catching them young. Okay, they say the oldies are set in their ways, but if we need any change in the next 5 years, we should begin today. So we are focusing on the children and youth to help them imbibe positive values that will help them become men and women of honor of tomorrow. We all realize the moral decadence all over the world. It's all over the world, actually, not just in Nigeria. I am based in Lagos, Nigeria. It's everywhere. People have lost what it is to be morally upright. And we're talking about corruption and human rights, doing the right thing here and there. It's all because the people that are in leadership have lost the moral compass. Yes. And so we are trying to groom these young ones for a better tomorrow. And that is what we're actually about. We go to schools, worship centers, we have talks with parents, teachers, and all that are related or connected with working with children and youth. We drill them on positive values just to help the mindset. The idea behind this is to change the people's mindset. When people think right, they will behave better. That is what we're all about.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lady Franca. I appreciate it. That was actually leave the best for last, so to speak, huh? So we thank you again for all of you joining us. You guys have a great position, and we don't take your time for granted. We are very serious game changers. We come from all different walks of life. So let this beginning Zoom meeting be the first that's going to grow into a strong foundation. So if you have any further questions, as I mentioned, please email me, or you can call us at 323-884-8583. It's also in the chat. And next Friday will be our next meeting, same time, and we will do a follow-up. We will have a task list that we will be sending to you. Mr. Akinola will send to you the results of our meeting today and the next requirements for our next meeting. September 18th, we will have a podcast at 11 a.m. That'll be Facebook Live. So the Kingdom Warriors Foundation as well. Interview with Joshua Abraham and an in-depth look of Freemasonry in the United States. September 19th at Hollywood and Highland will be our brief gathering concerning the real issues and how we're going to expose DCFS and the real issues with saving our children, Hollywood and Highland, and we will have a global conversation of human rights. So we have approximately 30 days, no, excuse me, probably 40 days for us to prepare for this 3-day event. While we're doing it here in Hollywood and Highland in Los Angeles, we would like for you guys to also continue your efforts of having meetings in your respective countries with your local villages and put together your local teams. And when it comes time for them to debut, that they'll be ready. So I'm very grateful again for this opportunity. Just briefly again, my name is Dr. Mello Desire from the Kingdom Warriors Foundation, born and raised in South LA. And I just have a personal interest to see human rights as a law and equality for all human beings. And now that I see it's coming with the resources finally, and our people will finally see hope, I guarantee, after November. So if there's any last comments or anything, we're going to sign off in about 2 minutes. I'm going to do a last prayer as we close out. So going once, going twice. You're good? All right. All right, so we can bow our heads, close your eyes. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this moment in time. We ask you, Lord, for those who are our leadership. The work is plenty, but the laborers are few. But we are here coming together, Lord, all hearts and mind in one accord to really have one purpose in mind, and that is to save humanity and love our brother and protect our children and our future for many years to come. However long you have us here on this earth, Lord, give us the tools and the wisdom and the knowledge and the fervorance to keep forward and to fight for justice. And we make sure to give you all the glory and the praise now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
All right, guys, thank you so much. And I'll see
Amen.
you next Friday, 4 p.m., same bat time, same bat channel.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, Nigeria. Bye, Uganda.
Bye.
Good night. Thank you.